Welcome to the Planet MicroCap Showcase Virtual 2022. I'm your host, Robert Kraft, and thank you for joining us. Now presenting at our event is Megan McGahey. She is the CFO at GAXY Next Generation. It's a publicly traded company. The symbol is GAXY on the OTCQB. And with that, Megan, take it away.
Thank you, Robert, and we definitely appreciate presenting here at the Planet MicroCap conference this year. As you mentioned, my name is Megan McGahey. I'm the CFO of GAXY Next Generation, Inc. GAXY is an educational technology, hardware and software provider, manufacturer and distributor of our own private label parts. We've been on the OTCQB since inception of 2018 when we went public. We currently have a market cap of a little under $1 million, average share price of about 5 cents, and our trailing 12-month revenue is currently about 4 times that of our market cap. So, of course, just like any other company probably presenting this year, we are a little bit of a victim of the market itself. But from an ed tech standpoint, our whole mission and goals is to provide whatever hardware and software solutions that we are with the educator and the student and the administration in mind. And so, we work closely with them. We actually send our electrical engineers out and our product developers to have roundtable discussions with our educators to try to create, a simplified, integrated solution that's completely flexible and scalable to their needs. And of course, we will get, pretty deep into what our products are and how they work and what they're used for throughout the presentation. But first, just to give you guys just a little bit of corporate history and overview, myself and our Chief Executive Officer, Gary LeCroy, founded the company in December of 2014. We did run it privately from all the way through 2015 up to 2018 when we reverse merged into another public company, a company called Full Circle Registry, which was ironically a movie theater company that was looking to go private. So it was a nice marriage back in middle of 2018. We took over ownership of that pubco. It was a fully reporting company at that time, and we have maintained, our fully reporting QB status since then. In September of 2019, we kind of executed what our going public strategy was for, which was to take advantage of the capital markets and close some accretive acquisitions to help expand our product line and our market reach. And we closed 2 acquisitions in September of that year, really focused on our classroom audio solutions, which again, we'll talk more about, and our intercom products. In October of the next year, in 2020, we did close another acquisition or asset purchase of a company called Classroom Technology Solutions. That company had a lot of connections with our overseas partners and really strong buying power from that market, and brought with it an increase in our profit margins at that time, taking us from about 20% up to 35 to 40%. And we'll see as we evolve that those profit margins have continued to improve from there too. And then in December, let me go back to the slide here, of 2020 of that same year, we hit a milestone for any OTC company and eliminated all of our convertible debt. And that brought in the following year us being able to report our first net positive EBITDA quarter. So we continue that trajectory to true net profit this year, and have worked really hard to do that. Part of that strategy is the beginning of the year, we did launch 2 new products that put us into the school safety and security markets, not just the educational technology markets. And that being mostly software driven has really increased those profit margins as well. And then when we just look at the overall market opportunity, right? I mean, the ed tech market itself is absolutely huge, in the close to 90 billion range from this fiscal year. The government themselves have poured additional funding into that huge market, mostly related to the previous pandemic and having some stimulus packages rolled out with the ESSERS funding and other stuff. But on top of that, has even poured more money into the school security market as well, given some of the unfortunate events that happened after students did return to school in that post-pandemic world. So, the market that we're targeting is really that K-12 market first, with the higher ed private schools and some of the other just corporate training entities, local state government, those type SLED initiatives to shortly follow. So let's jump in and talk about, what are our products, what they do, who they service, and how they're, better than the competition, right? And so when we look at, kind of our umbrella of our product overview. G2 Communicator is our software platform that really controls everything from the intercom system to the classroom audio, and most importantly, the G2 Secure portion, which goes out and communicates with the local law enforcement during a crisis situation as well. So when we think about Communicator itself, we sell on a regular basis just school communication. So that's typically your internal intercom system where an announcement can be made throughout the building. A teacher in the classroom can then respond back to that announcement. And it's two-way communication, including bells, paging, and the intercom side of that. We have several different components that go into that, but really our competitive edge is we've taken that intercom solution out of an old archaic closet in the secretary's office up front and moved it into the cloud, giving them more control to make on-the-fly announcements, send intercom or a bell or a page from a mobile device. So any internet-enabled device can now be your communicator platform in that building or even outside of it. So if a superintendent at the district level wanted to make a call to all their schools, they can do that through the intercom system versus some other Skype, Zoom type solution. So this has become kind of our leading market trender. When we first started the company, we were solely focused on the interactive panel and the in-classroom learning platform. And that has really reduced to only about 60% of our revenue, with the intercom solution coming in a strong second now. And we have some market data that just recently came out that actually said that the number 2 purchased equipment for schools in 2023 and 2024 will be intercom solutions. I think the data that we're seeing coming out of the field is really all around the fact that some of their archaic solutions are 20, 30 years old and were put in, when some of these schools were first built. And so now they're seeking more advantageous, more IT level, high IP level intercom solutions to replace them. And we really are short on competition in this market. So we've put a lot of marketing effort into this product. As part of G2 Communicator, we realized we had a pretty solid golden opportunity at the beginning of this year to launch into the school security market. And obviously we felt there was a need for something to allow the schools to disseminate information much faster, not just internally in their building, but also to law enforcement, so that by the time first responders are arriving on the scene, they know exactly what's going on in the building. They have pinpointed locations of different activities and have an active chat communication with anyone enrolled in that ecosystem, so they can go into action as soon as they arrive versus trying to assess the situation after arrival. And that's what G2 Secure does. So we use the same cloud-based platform that Communicator runs on. We activate a module for the customer that purchases the secure portion, and they have access to alerting every device in the building, whether it's a laptop, desktop, Chromebook, iPad, cell phone, that there is a emergency underway. And then that signifies a chat feature to formulate and gives access to law enforcement to respond as such, administration to respond as such. And it also gives monitoring to external door access control, IP endpoints, a lot of different features built in that really gives you kind of like a command center to go to during that unfortunate crisis situation. And so again, since this is part of Communicator, we have an upsell opportunity here too, to go back to our clients and customers that have adopted our intercom system and ask them, what they're doing for the security side. And since this is a part of Communicator, it's a simple add-on to scale them up to a larger sell. On the opposite side of that, still kind of fluid in terms of all the products working together, we have G2 Link. And G2 Link is a classroom audio amplification system. Teacher wears a microphone around their neck, amplifies their voice in the classroom for equal distribution. Tons of research around making sure the students in the back of the class can hear at the same level as the students in the front of the class. Equity in education has become a big part of hearing at an equal distribution level. And that's what G2 Link does at its base. But again, we took it a step further. And this product's actually, some of the features within it are patent protected. We've manufactured this product, similar products to this, for other companies in the past under our OEM division. But this is our G2 branded one. And because the amp is networked, it also becomes your IP endpoint in the classroom for that intercom solution. So again, we talk about scaling and being flexible. If a school just wanted classroom audio, they can come in, buy G2 links, knowing that next year, if they wanted to upgrade to a new intercom system, that the teacher microphone can fully integrate into that and become that voice back and forth communicator to the front office. The teacher microphone also has two panic buttons built into it, so they can initiate a G2 secure lockdown straight from their teacher mic as well. And if they have the whole system, communicator, secure, and link, it's all working fluidly together. But again, it can be scaled up and purchased over time as well to get to that fluidity. And then not to dismiss the product that kind of got us here, but G2 Interactive is really focused on our interactive flat panel line. Again, we were only selling this up until about 2019 when we started expanding the product line, and it still represents about 60% of our revenue. They range in size from 55, 65, 75, 86. Excuse me. And this really is just a giant touch television that hangs in the front of the classroom and is what the teacher uses to engage their students during instruction. Ours do come with some wireless collaboration software, some mobile device management to optimize their usage. It obviously can receive the visual alerts that G2 Secure is giving and can activate that chat in the classroom and be kind of the display for any of that side of our business too. And of course, schools have been adopting this type of technology for years, having started with projectors and kind of evolved into the smart board technology, and of course now into the interactive flat panel. And we see there's still being quite a bit of penetration to be had with this market. Only about 70% of schools in the U.S. have some sort of technology like this. So we do still have some run rate there for additional revenue, but the focus has truly definitely shifted to the higher margin, more advantageous products. And I just touched on a few minutes ago some of the intellectual property in G2 Link, but we do currently have 2 granted patents. Need to update the interactive touch panel there, and 3 others in review on status. And so this really goes into how much focus we put into our IP moat and wanting to build up what we have in terms of our technology. But one of the most exciting ones here on the list is the first one about assisted listening. So the patent for this particular technology is about student hearing aids being paired to the amplifier using high frequency pairing, which really just means that we own the technology for a student to roam from classroom to classroom, automatically pair with their audio in that classroom without having to make a scene and point out the fact that they may have a hearing disability, go to the front of the classroom, do a bunch of point-to-point pairing. And we do see that patent potentially being able to be transferred into the consumer division, concert goers, that type of activity. So, we're definitely keeping an eye on the market and hold our intellectual property close to the vest. I probably didn't mention in the beginning, but we are corporate headquartered in Georgia, about an hour and a half north of Atlanta in Toccoa, Georgia. We have physical satellite offices right outside of Phoenix, right outside of Denver, and in Jacksonville, Florida. We also have remote employees in Texas. Our engineering group is out of Salt Lake City, Utah. We have remote salespeople throughout the Northeast, and a software developer now in California as well as Maryland. California new to the mark as of just a couple of weeks ago. We also deal with a manufacturer's rep firm outside of our direct reseller network in the Northeast, out of New Jersey, and we have distributors in both Canada and Australia, primarily just for the audio product. And so part of our growth strategy this year so far and continues to be is into 2023 is we hired a chief revenue officer recently who comes from the reseller side of our business. And so we've done in the past some direct to school sales, and we've also done kind of a hybrid model where we have some resellers selling our products into their geographical areas, into their schools. And now we're moving and transforming into a complete 100% reseller market with him on board. He comes with 20 plus years of experience in the reseller market and has brought some of the largest EdTech resellers or AV resellers under our umbrella as of recently, and signed up 3 very large ones just this last month that's going to continue to push the G2 message into their local contracts, bids, and their local school districts. On top of that, we do still seek out growing our OEM division. So we do manufacture our own intercom and audio solution. That's not something that we ODM from overseas. It's made in our Arizona facility in Peoria. And so we have the capability to build that product or similar products for other companies under a white label brand, and have done that in the past for 2 other companies, and will continue to seek additional or new OEM partners to help build out that channel too. And then from a marketing side, I did mention earlier that we've put a lot of emphasis into G2 Secure this year and really making sure people know what our product offering looks like outside of the interactive panel. We've had great brand awareness opportunities from publications like eSchool News, Spaces for Learning, District Administrator. They've all published articles that we've written, white papers, picked up stories, news stories about things that our customers have been doing. And so we consider them great partners. Also taking advantage of the newer digital way of marketing with several podcast opportunities. And thankfully in 2022, our trade show circuits did go back live. And so we've attended most of the largest trade shows in 2022. And of course, we're signed up to attend those again in 2023 to get in front of our customers and in front of school admin to show them, exactly what our products do when they're there in person. And just to look kind of ahead a little bit on some select historical financials and our growth that we've been able to scale. Again, 2022 was really kind of a reset year for us, a little bit flat on revenue, but profit margins went from the beginning of the year at less than 30% to our last reported quarter being at 57%. So, we kind of had to take a step back, change a product mix. At least we hit flat revenue and increase that profit margin. And we did issue guidance earlier this year on 2023's fiscal year being upwards of $6 million. So we look forward to hitting that goal. Executive team currently consists of myself and Gary. As I mentioned earlier, we are the 2 co-founders, now CEO and CFO. We do have Mr. Bill Brinkman on board with us as our Chief Operating Officer. Have had the pleasure of working for Mr. Brinkman in a past life, and so he was a great asset to bring onto the team. Todd Eddy is the newest member of the exec team that I just mentioned, came on board as our Chief Revenue Officer just a couple months ago, and will be tasked with hitting that higher level expectations on the top line portion of our business. And then Sean Wheeler is our Chief Technology Officer, and he's been with us since our 2019 acquisition. He is the brainchild behind all of those new products as Communicator, Secure, and G2 Link continue to be added to and come to fruition. And then just to kind of sum up some of the things I mentioned earlier, for us, the increase in educational budgets has been, advantageous to say the least. We did get a Wall Street Journal article the other day, though, that said there were still 92% of the original ESSER's funding under the stimulus during COVID that had not been dispersed or spent. So we feel like we have a good 3, 4, maybe even 5-year run rate on additional funding from schools outside of their typical capital budgets. On top of that, there was another $1 million in stimulus money issued this year, specifically for a school safety and security stimulus package. And so, $1 billion, not $1 million. And so we, want to obviously continue to market to that, make sure that the schools know that resources like G2 Secure are available to them. Our unique technology solutions do give us a little bit of a market edge because of how fluid they are with one another and how scalable they are. So allowing the schools the flexibility to purchase certain parts as they go, or to have a holistic approach to the manner is unique to us and not something that a lot of other companies can do. And of course, our intellectual property that I've mentioned a couple times is ever growing. Our team of engineers, software developers are continuing to make fast, nimble changes to the product when need be. They can take a educator suggestion and turn it into a new product addition fairly quickly, since we're doing all that in-house. And so because of that, we continue to protect it. Mentioned our growing OEM channel. That is something that we strive to exceed against in 2023. And of course, our revenue kind of forecast or guidance that we've given would be a 50% increase in 23 over 22. And so we'll continue to use our leadership team to execute on all of those strategies and continue to strive for even bigger goals as we move forward. So with that, I will end the presentation, and I believe turn it back over to Robert for any Q&A.
All right. Thank you, Megan, so much for your presentation here. A few questions that I wanted to ask you. Looking at the competitive landscape, I mean, I think everybody, we've all been in those classrooms. We know kind of the old Bell system and everything. I mean, you see bells shatter sometimes, right? Because it was just so old. What does the competitive landscape looks like? Because I would assume that GAXY isn't the only one that first looked around and said, all right, this is old tech, and God forbid something happens in the school, like things are not up to par. So, love to learn more.
Yeah, sure. So we have kind of a little bit of a Trojan horse thing going for us. I believe the older systems, so the archaic systems, there's still companies out there, your Bogans, your Rolands, your Valcoms of the world, that were successfully still selling those systems because there was nothing, more high tech out there to replace them. And so I think that we came to market unexpectedly to our competitors with a system that's a little bit more high tech, cloud based, and because of that, about a third of the cost of some of those older systems that are requiring a lot more hardware, which drives up the cost. And so of course they will most likely say, hey, we need to act fast. How do we create something that's cloud-based? How do we get to the market the way that GAXY did? But they say, if you're first, cheapest, or best, you got something going for you. And fortunately with Communicator so far, we've been first and cheapest. And of course, we believe we're best. And our strategy for that is just to get it to the market as quick as possible and hope that our competitors don't catch up. Got it.
Speaking of the sales process, I mean, just curious, like it seems to make sense, right? And the value prop is right there. What's been some of the pushback then from some schools that you talk to?
So intercom systems historically have been a set it and forget it side. So we'll talk about them first. They have these systems in there that have been running for 20 years. They don't budget for a new system until that system fails. Unfortunately, what happens though is an intercom solution is considered life safety, because that is the way that you announce in the building, hey, there's something wrong, there's a tornado coming, whatever it may be. And so once that system fails, they're scrambling at that point. They're pulling budgets from other places to get a system up and running. In fact, before school went back this year, our sales team was telling us that we had 3 installs that happened within a week period of school opening because they went back and had realized that lightning struck their system or some godly act had taken place and they had no life safety system up and running. And so we are trying to get ahead of some of that and say, hey, why don't you forward think? You have this extra budget. Let's go ahead and budget for it this year and not wait on it to break. But as far as the sales cycles for the other products, the interactive panels, the classroom audio, those are all things that schools are consistently trying to budget for. They typically do like a 5-year rollout plan where they try to get, some schools done in year 1, year 2, year 3. And so those are active sales that are constantly being looked at from a bid and contract perspective. But Communicator has definitely kind of been its own animal so far.
Right. So that sounds like the play, right? That's the hook. And then you can upsell them everything else that you had that they probably are asking for anyway, right?
Exactly. That's why we harp so hard on flexible and scalable. Like just get one of our products in there, and because they all mesh so well together, it's kind of a no-brainer for them to start adding on the additional accessories as they go.
Absolutely. So one question that I've been asking all the companies that are presenting here today, it's tough here in the markets, right? What measures is GAXY next taking to mitigate some of these macroeconomic pressures that most microcaps are facing across the board?
Yeah, I mean, as companies, we try to focus as much as we can on our operational goals, keeping our shareholders in mind. And so, we've been able to look at alternative capital means this past year. We haven't affected the market in 2022. The market's affecting the market enough on its own. So, we've taken out regular banking loans. We have some purchase order financing and accounts receivable financing in place, and really just trying to manage our growth. We've cut operation expenses over $1 million a quarter since the beginning of 2021. So that's been a 2-year process. And so we're just continue to be mindful of everything that we can do to let the market do what the market needs to do today, and know that it will recover and it will be there for us when we need it tomorrow, and try to focus, outside of it as much as we can.
Absolutely. I'm kind of I don't know if you'll be able to answer this, but I'm gonna try it anyway. What target client or maybe a school system that do you think would really kind of move the needle, say, all right, if we can get this one, then maybe the rest will probably follow?
Yeah, well, you definitely have your leaders. It's good or bad sometimes, though. I mean, your huge school districts like your LA Unified, your Miami-Dade, your Atlanta Public Schools, they always seem to be the biggest dollar, grabber. They have more schools, they have more classrooms than anyone else. But oftentimes, your middle size districts or your small size school districts kind of turn a nose up at, well, we're not going to do what LA did because they don't know what it's like to be a middle-sized school district. So it's really weird to kind of play the bureaucracy on who has the best middle line. But of course, winning any of the larger school districts gives your notoriety, shows the company's ability to support a larger sale. And so it does build confidence across no matter what size school district you're dealing with, when you have one of those larger school districts listed on your reference list.
On that the logo slide, right? That's what we all call it.
That's it.
So to close us out here today, looking ahead at 2023, from what you can tell us, what would you then say are some of the company's value catalysts that you want folks to pay attention to?
Yeah, for us, it's all about focus on the top line revenue with the hiring of the CRO, but also, I've harped on it probably 2 or 3 times in the presentation, the profit margins, right? I mean, we really are shifting from our lower profit margin products into that software with higher profit margins. And our whole focus in 2023 is to hit profitability, and to get there, without hindering the top line growth. So continue to grow the revenue, but also switch the products as much as possible to the newer ones and market toward those, so we can hit those higher profit margins and turn to profitability.
Well, Megan, thank you so much for your presentation here today. Really do appreciate it, as well as answering some of my questions. To everyone watching and listening, thank you for participating as well. And Megan, thank you again.
Thank you. Appreciate it.